Right, let's talk about money. Not the fun kind you use to buy a suspiciously cheap sofa from a man named Gary, but the weird digital kind. I'm talking about stablecoins. Now, if you've heard the word crypto, you probably picture a cartoon dog rocketing to the moon, or your nephew explaining with unbearable confidence how he's going to retire at 23. But stablecoins are different. They are the boring, sensible accountants of the crypto world. Their entire job is to be worth $1, not more, not less. One coin, $1. It's the digital equivalent of taping a dollar bill to your screen and calling it an investment, except somehow it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Think of it as the dollar's less exciting but far more stable digital twin. Now, why should you care about this digital dollar doppelganger? Well, it all comes down to America's favorite pastime, right after deep-frying Oreos accumulating breathtaking amounts of debt. The U.S. national debt is a number so large, it looks like a cat walked across a keyboard. As of today, August 15, 2025, it's sitting at a casual $37 trillion and climbing. To pay for everything from aircraft carriers to national parks, the government sells IOUs called treasury bonds. Traditionally, big countries like China and Japan were happy to buy these, lending America money. But lately, they've been backing away slowly, like you do when someone starts talking about their essential oil business at a party. This has left Uncle Sam desperately swiping right on his phone, looking for new lenders to finance his spending habits. So how does this actually work? How does someone buying a digital coin to trade for pictures of bored apes end up funding the U.S. military? It's surprisingly simple and a little bit terrifying. Let's take a company like Tether, the kingpin of the stablecoin world. When you give Tether one of your real, actual U.S. dollars, they give you one of their digital coins called a USDT. It's a simple swap. But what does Tether do with your dollar? They don't just stuff it under a giant corporate mattress. That would be fiscally irresponsible, and frankly, a waste of a perfectly good dollar. No, they need to keep that money safe and ideally, earn a little interest on it. And what's the safest, most boring investment on planet Earth? You guessed it, U.S. Treasury bills. So Tether takes your dollar, and billions of other dollars from people all over the world, and uses that giant pile of cash to buy short-term U.S. government debt. It's a brilliant business model, really. They get to hold the world's safest asset, earning a nice little yield, while you get a digital token that you can use to gamble on whether a coin named after a dog will go up in value. As of our latest check, Tether and its main rival Circle collectively hold over $100 billion in U.S. treasuries. To put that in perspective, that's more U.S. debt than is held by entire countries like Germany or South Korea. This crypto industry has quietly become one of America's biggest foreign creditors. Except it isn't a country, it's a collection of companies run by people you've never heard of. Think of it like a giant global vending machine for U.S. debt. One of the most powerful and, frankly, sneaky aspects of this whole arrangement is its global reach. You see, getting access to U.S. dollars and U.S. financial assets isn't easy for everyone. If you live in a country with a volatile currency, or one that has a frosty relationship with the United States, you can't just open a Charles Schwab account. Banks are cautious, and international transfers are slow, expensive, and heavily monitored. But stablecoins? Stablecoins don't care about any of that. All you need is an internet connection and a crypto wallet, and suddenly, you can hold U.S. dollars, or at least a digital claim on them. This makes stablecoins a kind of financial Trojan horse. For millions of people in places like Argentina, Nigeria, or Turkey, where local currencies are constantly losing value, a dollar-pegged stablecoin is a lifeline. They aren't buying stablecoins because they love blockchain. They're buying them because they love the stability of the U.S. dollar. And every time one of them converts their local currency into a stablecoin like USDC or USDT, they are indirectly buying a tiny piece of U.S. government debt. They are helping to finance the very empire that their own governments might publicly criticize. It's a beautiful, ironic, and slightly diabolical loop. This creates an incredible source of stealth demand for U.S. treasuries. The crypto pipeline bypasses all the traditional gatekeepers and allows anyone, from a teenager in Manila to a small business owner in Buenos Aires, to become a lender to the U.S. government. It's the ultimate backdoor for maintaining dollar dominance in the 21st century. For a long time, Washington politicians treated crypto with the same confused terror as a grandpa trying to use TikTok. But as the stablecoin market swelled to over $150 billion, lawmakers realized they couldn't ignore it anymore. This led to a flurry of legislative proposals, including one with a name so perfectly American it hurts, the Guiding Responsible and Unified Inclusion for Digital Systems Act, or the GENIUS Act. Yes, really, an acronym that spells genius, which is usually a sign that something is in fact very, very stupid. The core idea behind the GENIUS Act and other similar bills is actually pretty simple. If you're going to run a company that issues digital dollars, you have to back those digital dollars with the safest assets possible. And what does the US government consider the safest asset? Why, its own debt, of course. These laws effectively mandate that stablecoin issuers must hold most, if not all, of their reserves in cash or short-term US Treasury bills. It's a move designed to protect consumers. But here's the kicker. While these laws are sold as consumer protection, they also have a very convenient side effect. They create a permanent captive audience for US government debt. By passing these rules, the US government is essentially forcing a multi-billion-dollar industry to lend it money. It's like telling every pizza place in the country that they are legally required to buy their tomatoes from one specific government-run farm. This legislation formalizes the accidental relationship we talked about earlier. Alright, so we have a system where a volatile global industry is now a major financier of the world's largest economy. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. The biggest and most obvious risk is the House of Cards problem. We've already seen a preview of this movie. Remember the collapse of Terra and Luna back in 2022? When it failed, it wiped out $40 billion in a matter of days. It was a financial nosedive so fast, it would give a peregrine falcon vertigo. Now, today's big stablecoins like Tether and Circle are supposedly backed by real assets, mostly those lovely treasury bills. But there's still a massive transparency problem. For years, Tether operated with the secrecy of a spy agency, refusing to provide a clear, audited breakdown of its reserves. What if there's a sudden run on Tether, with billions of dollars trying to be redeemed all at once? The company would have to sell its treasury holdings at lightning speed. Dumping that many bonds onto the market at once could cause chaos. It's like trying to evacuate a stadium through a single revolving door. Then there's the issue of over-reliance. The more Washington comes to depend on the stablecoin industry to buy its debt, the more exposed it becomes to the whims of that industry. Finally, this entire system is a juicy target for hackers, criminals, and hostile nations. A major hack on a stablecoin issuer could not only vaporize customer funds, but could also trigger a panic with real-world consequences for US debt markets. So, after all that, what are we left with? On one hand, you have a pretty compelling argument that this crypto pipeline is a stroke of accidental genius for the United States. At a time when traditional foreign buyers of its debt are stepping back, a new globally distributed and seemingly bottomless source of demand has appeared out of thin air. This system strengthens the dominance of the US dollar, providing it with a high-tech 21st century distribution network that no other currency has. It allows America to continue borrowing cheaply, funding its government and projecting its power. It's soft power on steroids. On the other hand, this entire arrangement feels like a devil's bargain. The US is tying a core component of its fiscal stability to a notoriously volatile, opaque, and poorly understood industry. The risks are enormous. A crisis of confidence in a major stablecoin could trigger a fire sale of US treasuries, rattling the foundations of the global financial system. We are outsourcing a critical national function to a group of tech companies that operate largely in the shadows. It's like letting a raccoon pilot a passenger jet. It might work for a bit, but you know it's not going to end well. The simple truth is that stablecoins are now an integral, if bizarre, part of the global financial plumbing. This silent multi-billion-dollar pipeline is reshaping who pays for America's debt, and by extension, who has a stake in its success. It's a development that is both profoundly useful and deeply unsettling. It's a high-stakes gamble, and we're all sitting at the table whether we like it or not.